Hello YouTube, Dave here again, back with another Pathfinder Playtest video. Today I want to touch on just a couple of the updates that have occurred over the course of the playtest thus far. If you're following the playtest and you haven't looked at any of the rules updates, I would definitely recommend going to the paizo.com website and downloading the latest update for the playtest itself. We are currently on version 1.3. Now there's a lot of, some of them are like small minor changes and there are some big changes. I'm not going to be discussing them all here today, but I do recommend checking it out. I want to focus more or less on skills for the purpose of this video. So I talked about in one of my previous videos, I talked about some of the things that I would change if I, had the input to do so. And one of the big things that I discussed was the proficiency bonus for untrained skills. Now, Paizo did address the proficiency bonus for untrained skills, but honestly, I don't think they went about it the best way possible. So when the system first came out, the way that being untrained worked is your proficiency bonus was equal to -2 plus your level. So at first level you had a -1 proficiency bonus for things you were untrained in. At second level it was just a 0, and then from third level on it would go like +1, +2, all the way up to +18. And the issue was that being non-proficient or being untrained in something, you only had a difference of, for as far as the proficiency bonus went, of 5 between being completely untrained and being legendarily trained. And I remember thinking that this was just sort of a bad way of going about it. Like, I understand what they were going for, but it just doesn't really work that well. I mean, the biggest downside to being untrained in skills is that there are certain aspects of it that you won't be able to make checks for because you're not considered trained. But for some of the more basic stuff, you are always going to be able to make a check and have a pretty decent chance at success. So they went ahead and they changed the untrained proficiency bonus from -2 to -4 plus your level, meaning at first level it's going to be -3, at second level it will be -2, at third level it would be -1, and then at fourth level you'd have your 0 proficiency before getting your +1, and so on. So with this system you're still getting a proficiency bonus of +16, meaning that again it's not necessarily going to be that much of an incentive to take training in certain skills, because you still have, by the time you get into the upper levels, you're going to have a pretty decent decent bonus on them. It definitely makes having a skill untrained and things using things that you're not trained in at lower levels a lot more serious, and so I can kind of understand that. Although, for example, for things like stealth, if you're trying to make a stealth check as a fighter wearing heavier armor, at lower levels you could get up to like a -8 on your skill check, which basically would eliminate the use of stealth altogether for characters wearing any sort of armor with their armor check penalty at the low levels. So the proficiency bonus, the way they have it now, definitely works at lower levels all the way up to about 4th level or so. But then you still start getting bonuses, and I think so at 20th level you're still getting +6 or +16, sorry. Versus +23, so you've gone from a difference of 5 to a difference of 7, but it's not so much the differences that are the issue that I kind of had with it. For me, it's more just the fact that it still doesn't seem like the greatest incentive to use your skill boosts for untrained skills at high levels that you use but don't rely on, sort of thing. You're still going to have +16, so with that stealth you may have a +16 bonus as someone who's untrained, and yeah, you're going to be wearing heavy armor, if we go back to that fighter example, but by the time you reach those levels you're going to have armors that are high enough quality that it reduces that check penalty. So I still think, so I had some comments from the video that I talked about, where I talked about the changes in untrained proficiencies. And one of the things that I never mentioned in that video was, because I focused mainly on the untrained, but I think that the differences between being trained versus being an expert versus being a master versus being legendary, I don't think those were far enough apart from each other either. You know, if you're trained in something, the difference between being trained and being legendarily trained is only +3. So I think that one of the things I actually had planned on discussing but kind of dropped from that video, although someone in the comments did have a similar idea to what I had, was that for each degree of training that you have above just being basically trained, I think it should be you know, a +2 bonus. So from trained expert is +2, from trained to master should be +4, and from trained to legendary should be +6. This will also make the current system work a little bit better with untrained versus legendary training, because now you've got legendary training at +6, so at 20th level you'd have a 26, so that's a difference of +10. If you had like the 2, 4, 6 version of expert, master, and legendary versus the 1, 2, 3. It sort of makes taking those extra types of training feel a little bit more important. So that's the system that I would go with, and I've considered house ruling it in just to see if it like unbalances things, which I don't really think that it would. So another suggestion that I would have for the untrained bonus is, I still think that, you know, having it equal to half your level round down works perfectly fine. So at first and second level, or first level, you would have a +0 bonus in anything that you were considered to be untrained in. At second level, you would have a +1 bonus. At third level, it would still be +1. At fourth level, it would finally go up to +2. By the time you reach 20th level, you're only getting a +10 bonus on things that you're considered to be untrained in. So the idea is that, you know, you kind of learn a little bit more about how to do these things, but not to the degree that someone will be trained in. Using the current system, the difference between being untrained versus legendary, with the ranks going up by +1, +2, and +3, if you were only adding half your level, would be a difference of 13. So it'd be an even greater disparity between being untrained and being at least trained, or, you know, going all the way up to legendary. It's a situation where it makes you want to consider using some of your skill boosts to become trained in skills that you were untrained in, but you find yourself using a lot and not really having the greatest chance of succeeding at, based on, you know, compared to other player characters, because they have, you know, the actual training in it. Another possibility is simply, if you're untrained, you don't get any proficiency bonus. And again, that way you don't have to worry about the numbering system, where with the current version of Pathfinder, pretty much everything increases by 1 for each level that you have. So every time you gain a level, you're pretty much increasing everything on your sheet by 1. I could see them not wanting to do the half your level, just because it sort of muddies the water a little bit when it comes to the proficiency bonuses and the math. But the simple solution would be to have a proficiency bonus of +0, meaning that if you don't take training in a skill, you're never going to improve in it. And I think that's, you know, that's a system that I would also consider. Like, at some point, I want to house rule both of those into an adventure and just see how they work. Even if it's the same adventure with the same characters, just kind of go through and try it out, because, you know, I think that something needs to be done where being untrained in a skill feels like a detriment throughout the entire progression of the character's levelings, from level 1 to level 20. And right now, it seems like it punishes the low-level characters harshly, whereas the higher-level characters really aren't going to worry about it as much, because, you know, again, by the time you reach 20th level, your character still has, you know, a +16 bonus. You know, at 10th level, you would still have a +6 bonus on something that you're considered to be untrained in. And going from levels 1 through 10 is more realistic than going from levels 1 through 20. So I guess what I want to know is what are you guys' thoughts on that system and the sort of that change? Do you think that it's the right move? Do you think that the -4 will be enough of a deterrent to continue to remain untrained in certain skills? Do you think that it unfairly punishes low-level characters, whereas it doesn't really affect the high-level characters as much? And what kind of changes would you prefer to see if that's the case? So let me know that in the comments below. Speaking of skill changes, one of the changes that was made with the rules update, I think it was 1.2, and honestly, I don't really like this one, but they eliminated signature skills from the game. And so signature skills were based off your class, and I think that having it based solely off your class was probably not the right idea. I think that the background and class should have dictated what those signature skills were. But those signature skills were the skills that were based on, you know, what you were doing as a character, and they were the ones that you could take from expert all the way up to legendary training. So for example, if you were a fighter wearing like plate armor, you are not going to become legendarily trained in stealth. It just doesn't make sense. Now, with the system, they've removed that completely, so you can basically become legendarily trained in any skill that you want. And I don't really like the way that that works. I think there are ways to, you know, if you work in like the archetypes and multi-class archetypes, that can add to your signature skill list and have things make sense. So if you're playing a fighter rogue, then maybe it would make sense to be able to have legendarily trained stealth. But again, if you're wearing full plate, what's the point of being legendarily trained in stealth? It just doesn't make sense for the character. But I don't like the fact that they eliminated them altogether. On the positive side, after that was done in Rules Update 1.3, each class now gives you automatic training in at least one skill, which is something that I thought was kind of lacking before. So I do kind of like that approach. So for example, if you're playing a fighter, you can be trained in either athletics or acrobatics, depending on if you want to make a strength-based fighter or a dex-based fighter. Like Rangers get automatic training in survival. Clerics and paladins both get automatic training. Actually, I'm going to take it back. I can't remember what the clerics was, but I know the paladin automatically receives training in religion. So I consider that to be a pretty positive change overall. Like I like the fact that the classes are now giving you automatic proficiencies. Or automatic training, I guess I should say, but I kind of wish they would have kept the signature skills there because I actually liked that system. You know, it made sense for the character classes. I mean, you could have done something to expand the list of signature skills. You could take, you know, if you took a skill feat that you had training in, if you had the skill feat, maybe as a benefit of that you could, you know, become... it would be treated as a signature skill. I mean, there are ways that you could sort of get around that if you wanted to, but I don't think eliminating it altogether was the right decision. But anyway, those are just sort of my thoughts on just a few of those things. Like I said, there's a lot of changes that have been made. Some of them are pretty minor, others are a bit more serious. The only other one that I can really remember, they did change like the death and dying rules from like as each playtest or each rules update has come up, they sort of tweaked and modified it somewhat to basically make it easier for characters to get back into the fight if they're knocked unconscious. So I don't necessarily have an issue with that. You know, if they get magical healing, they can get back up, but they have a condition put on them, sort of thing. But anyway, the other one that I will say that is kind of interesting is for the sorcerer class. One of the things that they've done is they made the sorcerer class, like the sorcerers all have bloodlines, and the bloodlines will grant you certain abilities. These usually come in the form of spell powers. So at first level, when you gain your bloodline, you automatically gain the spell power that goes along with it. And with that, you also gain a number of spell points. And when you gain, I think it's at 6th level, you gain the next level of your bloodline, sort of thing, the next sort of increase at that. So you get your you get another ability, and then you gain a number of spell points equal to the cost of that ability, if I recall correctly. Like I think when you first start, you get like 4 points or something along those lines, and then like you get a set number for the first time, and then after that, you gain a number of extra points equal to the cost of the spell-like ability that you, or the spell ability that you gain. And I think there's one more at 10th level. Now, they've actually taken those out as automatic increases, and they've replaced them with sorcerer feats. So if you want, you can take the bloodline powers, because they become feats for those levels. But you don't necessarily have to take them anymore, and I think that's kind of interesting. I don't think it's a change that I would have made personally, but then again, I'm only sort of just getting on board with the idea of the sorcerer class with this version of the game as it is, so modifying it too much, like I think that they actually had a pretty decent thing with the sorcerer. I've heard people say that spellcasting isn't very good anymore in this version of Pathfinder, but for the spellcasting character that was in the playtest adventure that I ran, when they cast their spells, they did really well, and their cantrips were pretty decent as well. So I didn't get that impression that spellcasters were underpowered in this version of the game. The only difference may be that maybe they get less spell slots than in previous versions, but they get the cantrips to sort of balance that off. But anyway, so yeah, they took out the bloodline like automatic bonuses, and then they become feats. So I guess let me know what you think about that as well. For me, I think it makes sense that the bloodline stuff is mandatory, because it's based off of what granted you these powers, and as you become more powerful, you should be gaining these abilities, like your bloodline should be becoming enriched and stronger kind of thing. So I like the idea of it being automatic. But anyway, those are just sort of my thoughts on that. Again, there's all kinds of changes, too many to really get into in this particular video, but just let me know what you guys think overall. If you're following the playtest, do you like the changes? Do you think some of the changes are kind of unnecessary or questionable? What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate all your support, and we will see you next time. Take care.